Good Monday morning. Here's Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is the 25th of November, and US market has a fairly okay day. Friday ended the week strong, closing this little gap up here and has pushed higher. And here pre-market, we can see that it is also pushing even further towards previous peak, just below 6,000. And I think we could test the previous peak here fairly shortly, maybe today or at least this week. Seems very strong at the moment. On the Nasdaq index, it was a more muted day Friday, also because some of the big ones they were struggling. We'll look at that a little bit later in another update. It needs to close above 20,897. To close this gap here for further upside momentum, and we need to get the RSI back above 60 threshold to support that. It is also pushing a little bit higher here pre-market, as we can see here. I think it will push higher, but let's see. It needs to stay above this rising trend line here in this rising wedge-like pattern, so keep an eye on that. On the Dow Jones Industrial, that had a very strong day Friday, and pre-market is up further 0.5% roughly, and it's about to cancel this top reversal pattern. We got the bit of correction down here, about 50% of the uptrend. If it takes out the previous peak, well, then expect a push up to at least 45,000, possibly higher. We can see here pre-market it is pushing higher, so it actually has taken out its previous all-time high, and I think we'll see it pushing towards 45,000. Let's just have a quick look what's going on in the Asia this morning, or what went on Asia this morning. We have Hang Seng lower once again, a little bit lower here, and I think we will see it breaking 19,000 fairly shortly. A negative sentiment on the RSI. There is potential down to 18,300 level, and down here where we have fairly strong support. But there's also the moving average coming up, giving a little bit of support. But we are in a bearish trend. We see lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows, and we are below 55 moving average. So I think we'll see it in the coming week or so, dropping even lower. On the European market, we have EUROSTOXX 50, and across the board they actually bounced quite strongly towards the end of the session. Friday, we can see here the EUROSTOXX index, EUROSTOXX 50, bounced strongly to just below 4,800. And here pre-market it actually broken higher. When you are watching this, we are probably having the open session already, but you can see here pre-market we actually bounced higher, and it's a quite a strong bounce. And I think it will continue possibly up to around the 48.80, around the where we have the 100 moving average and the 55 moving average coming down. So there's some strong overhead resistance, and also 4,900 will be a bit of a struggle for the EUROSTOXX. The DAX index, after spiking several times below 19,000, closed above every single time. And Friday had a very good day where it got back above the 55 moving average and above the clouds. And I think we will see it pushing higher in the coming days. It needs to close above 19,000. That is really key support. So I think we'll see it pushing higher here in going into this week. We can also see here pre-market we're a little bit higher, 19,400. You can see pushing higher. So this is 19,000, really a key support. The Amsterdam index bounced from the 858. It also held every single time despite spiking below. Had a good day Friday, closed back above 878. I think it can push higher. It is actually opening very close to unchanged, but there should be potential up to around 890, 892, but there's some strong resistance up here. We have the 55 coming down. We have the 200 moving out, also kind of putting a lid on there. So it will be a fairly strong resistance. We can see here it's opening. It is set to open more or less unchanged. We have the CAC 100. It's still in a downtrend, but as we can see here on the next one, I mean, shoulder pattern almost reached its potential down here to 7,107 and 7,000 also. It rarely reaches after a shoulder pattern breakout and confirmation. It rarely reaches the full potential, and now I think we will bounce. If we get back above 7,300, then there could be a little bit more upside potential. And here pre-market we are very close to the 7,300, so expect a little bit bounce there to also get some benefit from the strong move. The Swiss markets, a very strong bounce from 11,419, 11,750 being tested Friday, could bounce further towards 11,875. However, pre-market it is fairly unchanged, just below 11,750. Moving on to FX market and euro dollar, that Friday was sold off heavily down to 103.30 level, and then a very strong bounce. They actually bounced a 61.8 retracement to just around 105. If it can break back above that, it actually spiked a little bit above, but if it can break higher, then key resistance here is 106.10. It needs to break back above and close above that for further rebound potential. But if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see, well, it is actually still in very much in a bearish trend, and with further downside potential in coming weeks and months, but expect a fairly strong rebound here the next couple of days. But keep an eye on 105 at the peak here today. It needs to take that out, otherwise it can drift lower. There is currently, I don't think there's any divergence on the RSI. No, there's not, so we are likely to push lower in the coming days and weeks. Sterling dollar also bounced a little bit after dipping below 125, though no divergence on the RSI. I mean, we can bounce a little bit higher towards 126. We were very close this morning. Could bounce a little, but it needs to get back above 127.15. I'm not quite sure we'll get there because it's also in a bearish trend. Euro sterling, very volatile Friday, as we can see here. Dipping below 83 to almost the previous lows here at this trough here at 82.60. I think it will be caught range bound in this large range here between 82.60 and 83.75. It needs to get back above 83.75 for upside potential. If we're looking at the weekly chart, well, we can see it's still in a bearish trend and could slide lower towards 82 level. Dollar yen, well, it seems like we are in an exhaustive mood. If it breaks below 153.25, then expect a correction lower. And I think what I want to do, just to give me an idea, we could see if this entire uptrend here maybe at the Fibonacci levels, and we can see, well, get all the way down there. I'm not quite sure yet. We have some strong support here at 151.45. You can see very strong support here. I will actually adjust this because there was a lot of volatility. So if we take it from there, then it's quite close to the 38.2 is quite close to the 151.45 if we break below there. But it seems like we will also have the RSI sentiment is declining, so we are indicating exhaustive mood for the dollar yen. However, if it takes out 156.75, we could see a push up to 157.70, maybe a little bit higher. Euro yen is in a bearish trend, confirmed by the negative RSI. Since it's below 40 threshold, we have lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows again. Trying to get back above here, the 161.90 spiked a little bit, but we are in a bearish trend. It could still bounce a little bit further above 162.5, but we are in a bearish trend. We were almost reaching the 61.8 here at 159.55. I think we will see it slide lower in the coming weeks. For Euro yen to reverse this bearish trend, it needs to get back above 165. The Aussie yen pair, well, basically range bound. I would say 99 to the downside and 102.40 to the upside. That it is what needs to break. But I would also add that if it takes out 101.56, the little spike up there from last week, then I think it will take out 102.5 and push higher. I mean, the RSI is still in positive sentiment. There's no divergence, so it could do that. And there's a battle between the moving average. You can see the 100 declining, the 55 coming up, and the 200 flat. So that indicates that we will be range bound, but it needs to break direction to any direction anytime soon. The sterling yen also, you can see bearish correction pattern here, lowers, lower highs, lower highs there, lower low, and now again, but still above the 193.70 support spike below. We are in this falling channel here, but if RSI can stay above 40, we could see a bounce higher, and I think if it start bouncing towards the upper falling trend line, if it breaks back above that, well, then there's potential back to 200 level. Aussie dollar, a bit of volatility here towards the end of the week, and also this morning trying to push above the 65 level, but has failed so far. I still think there could be potential up to the 61.8 retracement at just around 66. But if it starts taking out the spike down here from Friday, I think we'll see a push below 64.40 and possibly lower. We are in a bear trend, but as you can see, there's divergence here. These levels here are higher than here. So it's a little bit up in the air. Looking at the weekly, well, it is usually around where it turns around. It usually spikes a little bit lower below the 64 and then bounces back. But look at what's going on here. All moving averages are declining now. Oh, the 55 still a little bit flat there, but on the weekly you see 200 down, the 21 down, and the 100 down. So I think we will push lower and possibly also take out the 64 here fairly shortly. The underlying sentiment, both short term and medium term, is bearish. Dollar Canada once again tested the 61.8 retracement and bounced, and it could bounce further. If it bounced further, well, I would just to help me get a little bit of understanding what's going on, I will add the Fibonacci retracement of this one here, and then just say, okay, it actually bounced 50% there. If it gets back above that, well, then we can see a push towards, I'm not quite sure we'll get back up there, but towards the previous peak, but maybe up to 140, 67 area. If it takes out once again this morning the lows, if it takes out this morning's lows here at 139.27, then I think we're looking at 138.80 level, potentially lower, but 138.80 it should push down to that. The sterling Canada really on the move. A lot of volatility late Friday and also this morning, bouncing from the 200 daily moving average just above 175. We are in a bearish trend, negative sentiment, no divergence. We could see it pushing lower to 174, a stronger support level. It is a little bit critical here, I will say, if I add the Fibonacci to that and say, okay, well, how much can it actually bounce from here? Possibly, it already bounced to 38.2. It could bounce up to 177, which is 61.8 retracement, but I favor the downside after a little bit of a correction. Euro Swiss spiked lower Friday, massive spike lower to almost to 92 level, and then a bounce back above the 93 and bouncing to the 61.8 retracement here at 93.56. And now we are caught here in around the 93 level. So what I will do, I will just remove this one here. We are in a bearish trend, and if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see what's actually also going on. See, it actually spiked to that, also spiked down there in August. So I think we'll stay up here in this region around 93 for a couple of days at least, and let's see what happens. It's a little bit uncertain that it didn't stay down there. That was a sign of a very strong support. We have the dollar Swiss closed Friday above 89.25. above the resistance, but now it's trading back below. There's a little bit of divergence here, as we can see the declining peak values here on the RSI. But I think we could see it push higher towards 90 level in 90, which is fairly strong resistance. If it moves back below 82, then we could see a sell-off down to around 87.30 maybe, maybe even lower, but I think in this region here, but it needs to stay above this. We are in a bullish trend and trusted trends despite showing a little bit of fatigue. Finally, on the dollar index, also had a very volatile day. Friday spiked above 108, now back below or in the region at 107. I think we could be caught also range bound here a little bit. We are in a bullish trend despite showing divergence and thereby trend exhaustion, but we are in a bullish trend as long as we stay above 106. Gold spiked higher and actually closed higher Friday above 2,708 resistance. Started a little bit higher again this morning, but then got sold off heavily, and we are very close to the 55 moving average. We are also very close to the 38.2 retracement at 26.50. What is the key interest here is that the RSI actually got rejected at the 60 threshold, and that is key. It needs to close above for gold to resume the bullish trend that will take it to even higher levels. I think that scenario play out if we move back above the peak today just below 27.22, and that will be key here. You should observe the next couple of days, and we could still see a bit of correction lower, but keep an eye on what's going on if it takes out that. So we are a little bit in a limbo at the moment. I mean, we are above the cloud, which is a bullish sign, but we really need confirmation down there on the RSI. On the silver, also sold off this morning, couldn't get back above the 31.53, 54 level here, and it's still below the 38.2 retracement. Negative sentiment on the RSI, that was a bit of weakness, a sign of weakness that it couldn't really get back higher here. However, we still have the 55 moving average. We are below it, but it is still rising, so we should see it push high. But we have the 100 here that is flat. I think we could be caught range bound in this area between around 30 and this 30 and 31.5. It needs to take out that, and we need to get the RSI higher, but it really needs to take out 31.65 level for further upside potential. Copper also a bit depressed, I will say. I think it could be called range bound between 400 and just below 420. It really needs to take out the spike up there at 418 for further upside potential to even stronger resistance here around 430. WTI crude oil moved higher Friday, a little bit weak to start the week here. It needs to get back above the 72.34, 72.50. I would actually say it needs to get back above this level, which is a little bit higher. But here we have the 100 moving average that will give it a bit of a hard time. We also have the cloud area here, although it's pretty thin, also giving a hard time. The RSI is still below 60 threshold. It could be caught range bound, this range around $70 for quite a while. It really needs to break out of this range. Same picture on Brent crude oil, 76.32.35 level, and you also have the 100 moving average coming down, giving a lid. We are just below the cloud, so it's really struggling a little bit. On the Dutch gas, European Dutch gas, TTF gas here, spiked higher Friday, got sold off opening this morning, basically unchanged. We can see here on the weekly what's going on. It's hitting that upper rising trend line. There's still upside potential up to 55, 56, maybe even higher here on the medium term, but maybe we need a little bit of a correction lower, support at 45. The Henry Hub gas that broke bullish out of its triangle pattern, almost up to the, it spiked up to above the 350, almost up to previous peaks here at 364. It could still do that, but also got sold off really heavily there Friday, but now it's opening about 6% higher. So very volatile. Be cautious if you're trading that. US 10-year Treasury yields is ripe for a correction. and we talked about it for the better part of last week, that it probably would do that with this indecisive candles here. Couldn't really make its mind up, and I think we will see a correction down to around 428, 425, but it's not unlikely we'll get all the way down to 415, but I'm not quite so sure about that. But 425, I think is in the cards. We can also see what's going on really in the bigger picture. 450 is really the key. You see 450 just one daisy pip below there. We are in a bullish trend on short term and medium term. It could push higher, but it really needs to take out 450 for upside potential. Otherwise, expect a correction down to at least 425. The 2-year, if we are just zooming in on it, you can see here the 2-year just below the 437 resistance, and the 200 moving average support at 422. If it takes out that, well, then we could see also a larger correction going on. The EURBUND future had a good day Friday, pushed above the 133.16. We are testing it this morning here. I think we could see it pushing hard a little bit, but key will be what will happen with the RSI today. Will it close above or will it be rejected? If it moves back below 133.16 or 133 here, then I think we could see it sliding back towards 132.5, 132. On the UK gilts, we are right there. UK gilts also a very strong bounce above the 38.2 retracement. I think we could see it pushing higher towards resistance here at 95.36. Maybe we're up to 96. I'm not quite sure about that, but a fairly strong bounce. The RSI is still negative sentiment. There's no divergence on the RSI, so I think we could see it resuming a bearish trend after a correction. Moving on to Bitcoin, well, we have the Bitcoin that spiked almost 200,000, didn't get it all the way up there, 99,860 to be exact here on this chart. It reached the 200% of this corrective pattern here, didn't get all the way up to the 161.8 projection of this. We can see this is the like cup with a handle and then potential higher. We can measure it in many ways. This is one of the ways to do it, but just above. I actually did expect it to test the 100,000. It can still do it. It can still do it before we are in for a correction. On the Ethereum that has been struggling. This is the weekly chart we are looking at. Ethereum that has been struggling. I actually got its mojo back together a little bit, pushing towards resistance here at 3,576. If it takes out that, well, then I think we'll see it pushing above 4,000. All right, that's all for today. Talk to you again later, and have a nice day.